Hi there, my name's Jeff Mays. My company, Success for Life, is a personal development, coaching, and consulting company. And we work with the Proctor Gallagher Institute in a program called Thinking into Results. And we facilitate that program for various companies and individuals who want to improve themselves and work on themselves. I think I need to tell you just a little bit about me before we go too far in this story. But tonight what I wanted to tell you was why I'm here. And tonight it's really simple to start that story because I can tell you that when I was very young, 16 or 17 years old, I started to understand personal development. I went and bought some books, a book in particular called Think and Grow Rich, and another series of cassette tapes, if you remember those, from Earl Nightingale. And I get that tape every month, and my mind started to go. I started to listen to those tapes over and over and over again and started reading that book over and over again. And what I found was I got great success from doing that. So as I got great success, I said, I've learned everything I need to know. I don't have to know that anymore. I stopped listening. I stopped reading, and my success went away. And I went into some failure. Well, that happened repeatedly. I repeated that 5 or 6 times over about 30 years. And then 9.5 years ago, something changed. I was working for a company that asked me to change the paradigm of the company and go from one type of company, from a distributorship into a dealership. That may sound pretty easy, but it takes some real change within 100 and some people to make that happen. So he'd asked me to do that, and as a sales manager, I was supposed to do it from selling more stuff to make them change and have to do other things. Well, that works to a degree, but it didn't really work in changing people's minds. So I was having a real struggle with it. I started looking for material that would help me. I went back to the internet. I went back to books and tapes and everything I could find to try to understand and learn more about how the mind works. Along the way, I found a fellow by the name of Bob Proctor. And Bob Proctor started a process within me that was wonderful. About 9.5 years ago, I met him. And I started working with him. But here's the first thing I want you to understand, is that you can't really change the mind until you understand how the mind looks like. We think in pictures. Now, you may not know that, but if I take an example of, let's just say, tell me what the door of your house looks like. Could you tell me what kind of a door it is? Could you tell me what color it is? Could you tell me about the windows, if it has windows, or maybe it has windows next to it? Could you tell me about that front door? And then if I ask you to think about your refrigerator, I bet you could tell me what color it is, what it looks like, if it has 2 doors or 3 doors or 4 doors, which way they open, and how it looks when you walk into the kitchen, what color it is, how big it is. You think about that, and you see that picture, and what your mind is doing is it's building an image from the thought process, right? So you think in pictures. Now, if I ask you to think about what the mind looks like, what would you say? Well, I know what I said back when I first had that question asked of me. I said it looks like the brain. And I figured out very quickly that I was kind of right, but I really wasn't right, because mind is no more just the brain than mind is the fingernail on your finger. Mind is everything. Mind is what manifests your body, right? What you think about, your body becomes. That's how people change things, right? So we needed a picture of the mind. How do we explain that to people so they can think about what the mind is and understand the process of thinking? Well, we weren't the first people to think about that. Way back in 1934, there was a doctor in San Antonio, Texas, by the name of Dr. Thurman Fleet, and he wanted to come up with a drawing that he could share with his clients and with his students and help them to understand how to get well. Because you can't treat the whole mind and body without being apart together, right? So he came up with this little drawing. It's kind of silly when you first look at it. It's the stick person. And the stick person, they call it the stick man back then, right? But the stick person is a graphic representation of how it works. Take a little look at this. Now, if we let the top circle of the stick person be the mind, and we let the bottom circle of the stick person be the body, we start to understand how it really works. The mind is big, the body is a manifestation of the mind, right? And then if I tell you there's many parts of the mind, you'd probably believe me. I mean, if you ask a scientist, they'd say there's hundreds, maybe thousands, maybe even millions of parts of the mind. But what I would say, there's two main parts. And I'm going to draw that little line across the middle there so we can talk about those two parts. The top part is the conscious mind. And the conscious mind, we're going to put on top. And then this bottom part, guess what? Subconscious mind, right? It's the lower part. So the subconscious mind. So how does this work? The conscious mind is the thinking mind. And the thinking mind is where we get the thoughts in, and the thoughts start to vibrate or move through us, and we understand that we need to do something with it. We can either accept or reject any thought that's given to us in the conscious mind. Well, how are those thoughts brought into us? Well, we learn when we're very young that we have five senses. Those five senses are to see, hear, smell, taste, and touch. Now, those five senses can actually be likened to little antennae on top of our head, the stick person's head anyway. They're drawing in all those things, a zillion inputs at a time, and then we accept the thought to do something. What's that like? Well, if you had a thought today that said, I want to learn more about how my mind works, what's the best way to do that? Well, you could accept that thought, do some research, find a coach, find somebody to help you understand this better, and that would be a great example of how you accept a thought and make a change, right? Our subconscious mind can't change things. It can only do what we tell it to do. So we're going to start out with these five senses. Well, we learn really quickly that there's more to it than that, right? We have some other abilities that aren't taught in school. And those abilities are the intellectual faculties. And the intellectual faculties are the ability to perceive, perception, will, imagination, memory, intuition, and reason. Without the intellectual faculties, we can't really do much with the intellectual material that comes into our mind. We think about it, we start to wonder about it, we start to say, okay, what am I going to do? Going back to our example with the will. The will is one of my favorite intellectual faculties. The will gives you the ability to concentrate on something to get it done. You can use your will, you can train your will. It's a muscle. You can train it to get strong and to be able to do one thing at a time. You can actually take it and focus and train your will to teach you how to do something. The will is one of those faculties, and it's so good and it's so important because it gives us the ability to do what we tell it to do. If you can command your will to do something, you'll do it. Another one of the faculties, we don't have a lot of time to go through all of them right now, but another one is intuition. Intuition's probably one of my favorite intellectual faculties because you can develop your intuition like anything else. And you can make it work for you so that you understand the people you're talking to and you understand what they want or what they need, and you're able to talk directly to them. As a salesperson, I've always found intuition to be the most important thing that I had personally. Because if I can understand the person I'm talking to, if I can relate to him on some psychic wavelength, how to move forward, for us to do business together, it's really easier, right? I don't have to sell them. I can get on their level and I can get there. Just like you right now, you may be thinking, I really want to learn how to become a better salesperson. Or I really want to learn how to become a better, whatever it is you do, an accountant or a banker or whatever it might be. But if you don't start to look at that intuition. If I don't recognize it in you as we're talking right now, we may not have the opportunity to work together. I want to be able to do that, right? I want us to work together to move you forward into success in every way possible. That's my goal. What's your goal? How are you going to set that up today? You know, what I'd like to do is I'd like for us to sit down and talk some more about this material. I'd like for us to take some time, get to know one another, to see if our ideas are the same, to see if we can work together to help you move into success in any area that you desire. It doesn't have to be just work. I want you to do this. I want you to give me a call. I want you to drop me an email. I want to set up a time with you. In fact, I have an online scheduler I'll put up the link for. And you can schedule that appointment today for us to talk, for us to get to know each other, and then we can see if working together makes sense. I'm really happy you've taken this time to talk with me today, or me to talk to you as you look at it. But I hope there's something here that's caught your mind and that you've started to build a picture of success in your mind, doing whatever it is that you want to do and understanding how to do it better, faster, and make it happen. My name's Jeff Mays. I'm your Thinking into Results facilitator. Thanks.